meeting to order with a pledge to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the agenda.
I will motion to approve the agenda for consideration.
Moved and supported. Any discussions? None. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. I have nothing to say. Moving along, call to the public. Yes.
Hey, Joe. Curious as to where we're at with the status of the ethics and conflict of interest policy. If there's a timeline for it or a draft?
No, honestly, I haven't done anything with it.
Okay.
I kind of was expecting us to be doing other things. So
Do we have a timeline or are you looking at?
I would say after October.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes.
I'll actually just say that I understand that the public hearing is not going to be on the 30th, and I appreciate that because we would not have been able to be here on the 30th, so the October date looks much better. That's the change.
That will come up later too, but correct. Yes. Anybody else? All right, with that, we'll move into the regular meeting. Adoption of our minutes from our August 21st meeting.
A motion to adopt the 21st of August meeting minutes and the closed session minutes.
I don't think we have to do them separate, because I haven't given you the closed session yet.
Adoption of those regular meeting minutes from August 21st. The motion.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same.
So you guys only get these to review right now, and then they have to come back to me. They're going to be sealed and destroyed in 1 year and 1 day from today.
Is there a motion to approve the closed session minutes?
Motion to approve closed session minutes from August 21st of 2025.
Second.
Guess there's really not much discussion. So all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And that brings us to our other presentation. Floor is yours.
My name's Charlie Haystack. I'm with the audit firm Pfeffer, Hanniford and Palka. We were hired to take over your audit about 1.5 years ago, roughly in that range. And with you guys having the requirement that it's only an every other year audit, this is our first time doing the audit for you. And typically we would like to come present the audit, a little bit talk to you about the financial statement, how our process went. Last year we assisted with filing the form F-65 that's due to the state of Michigan every year. So that was our first chance to really kind of get into the financials, see how things were looking, what we thought needed to improve. We did that for your March 31st, 2024 year end with that F-65 for the state of Michigan. Worked with Amanda and Julie a bit through the year to implement some changes that we thought would be beneficial to the financial reporting to the township this year. So in the financial statement that I have, that I handed out to each of you, it'll look a little bit different than what you've seen in past audits. The primary thing that we did is to break out 2 additional funds from how you previously reported it. We previously had a general fund and a cemetery fund. When we looked at the activity coming in, we determined really your road fund should have its own, or your road millage should be separated into its own fund, so that all of that money is kept separate and tracked separate and reported here separately. And then for the fire hall debt service fund, we created a fund for that as well, so the activity in and out of that is tracked separately as well. It was a very easy process to separate those funds, as your accounting already had it, and all of that activity was in each had its own dedicated bank account. So it was easy to just pull that activity into a new fund, audit that activity, see that it all does apply to the road and the debt service fund, and break that out. But when we look through the financial, you'll be able to see that distinction between that. When we do the audit, our intent of the audit is to give assurance that the financial statements are reasonably stated. The intent is not to look for fraud, detect fraud, anything of that nature. It's designed to look at the numbers, look like they're reasonably recorded, they're consistent with what would be expected, and that everything looks reasonable and provide assurance that is there. So when we came in, we got an understanding of your internal control process, of how that works and what your controls are in place to keep the accounting records in clean shape. Made a few suggestions along the way of where we thought things would be improved. Typically what we would do is if we find a deficiency in those controls, we will present those to you at the board level here as well. We have another letter in this packet that addresses our comments and concerns, if we have it in there. I guess I'll go to that real quick. In that letter, it's a small letter in here that just says title "Dear Honorable Board Members." There's two items that are documented in here, but they are typical to any audit of this size that we do. One of them is saying that the township is responsible for establishing the controls over the reporting of this financial statement. What that means is essentially you guys should be writing this financial statement, presenting it to us, and then we audit the financial statement. We start with the financial statement and audit back from there. Most townships, most of our clients don't have the accounting staff on hand to do that, so what it typically does is we'll get your accounting records, draft the financial statement for you, and do this presentation so that we can inform you of kind of what's in the financial statement, make sure everybody understands what's there. So that's one of the items we document as it's just in a larger city, something would be expected that the staff would be providing a financial statement. The second is a lack of segregation of duties, or lack of true segregation of duties. Again, the township of this size can't bring in staff necessary to create that true segregation. That doesn't mean that there's not a segregation of duties, it's just not to the extent necessary to say, yes, this truly is what would be expected, right? So if there is potential for crossover in some of these duties, in some capacity of, one department does the bank reconciliations, but also has to be a signer on the account because you got to have two signers, you got to find somebody to do it, things of that nature will fall into. Again, just about every one of our audit clients has both of these two comments in there. So it's nothing that we have concern with, but it is something we have to document so that the board is aware of. Other than that, if we found anything else that we thought there was a significant concern with, we would have it documented in this letter and other matters. We think this control is deficient. We would provide suggestions on how we think you can improve those. We didn't find anything of that nature, so there's nothing to that extent within this letter. We think you have very solid controls in place. There might have been a few things that we suggested along the way that were minor tweaks to things that were made here or there that it's, hey, tweak it this way, all right, sounds good, and it's a simple change in process that I don't think really requires coming to the board to say, hey, this was such a significant issue, we think you should know and be watching over the fact that the change exists. Into the financials themselves. Again, the intent of our audit is to provide that assurance that the audit's reasonably stated. And the independent audit report in here states that it has what's called an unmodified opinion that essentially says if we found something that we have concerns with, we might have to modify our opinion as to whether these are reasonably stated. Since we didn't find anything, there's no modification. It's called an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, which is the highest level of assurance over the financial statements that we can provide as auditors. To go over some of the financial highlights of it, I'm going to start on page 17. This is your balance sheet. Now, for the governmental accounting, it's a little different than what you would see if you're used to like a business financial statement, and that there's really two sets of financial statements within here. There's the government-wide financial statements, which are reported on a full accrual, which is similar to what a business would report. That has the fixed assets, the long-term debt, all of your long-term items reported on there. These statements are considered modified accrual, which means it takes out the long-term portion and really just represents kind of on your year-by-year basis of what's happening. So this is presented on your more short-term resources or your current available resources as of March 31st, 2025. This is where you'll see we have those four separate funds: the general fund, road fund, Pfeffer debt service fund, and then the cemetery fund. For the balance sheet, there's not a whole lot of items necessarily highlighted in there. Overall, you have assets in your general fund of $1.9 million. Overall, in all of the funds, you have assets of $2.7 million. Total liabilities in all funds, $477,000, for a net fund balance available of $2.26 million. I'm going to jump ahead a couple pages to page 19. This one I'll highlight a little bit more. This is your statement of revenues, expenditures, changes in the fund balance. This shows the financial activity for how you did as a whole over the year. Again, starting with, on the bottom of it, we have a couple items that'll show this year only. There's this transfer of fund balance and prior period adjustment. What that transfer of fund balance is us taking amounts that were previously reported in the general fund, and that portion of that at the beginning of the year should have belonged to road fund and the Pfeffer debt service fund, and coordinate those. And then there's a prior period adjustment that is saying, now that we audited this year, we found stuff that really should have happened in the 2024 fiscal year. It wasn't found during that F-65 process. So rather than have that reported in this year's revenue expenditure activity, we're essentially adjusting the beginning fund balance for those funds for what should have been recognized last year. There is a footnote in the notes that describes more of where those come from. The biggest one that's in there is that Pfeffer debt service, which is a timing difference on when you received your refund from the fire authority. In the prior year, you had paid the debt service out of what was reported in the general fund, and that had a balance due from the fire authority as of 3/31/24. That came in April, so it's being recognized as revenue this year. And it was recognized in the new debt service fund, so there's just kind of a crossover between those funds and the fiscal years that is pretty minor overall. I just don't find it alarming being a $370,000 number. Overall, you had a really solid year. If we look at the net change in the four funds, you have it's near the bottom. It's the net changes in fund balance of $200,261. And overall, your revenues exceeded your expenditures by that $200,000. One metric that I like to look at to gauge how our audit clients are doing financially is look at the fund balance as a multiple of your annual expenditures, or as a or your 5-year average expenditures. Just in looking at this one, your general fund is $1.8 million. Your expenditures this year were $700,000. Overall, for the four funds, you're at a fund balance of $2.2 million with a total expenditures of $1.4 million. So you're at about 1.6 multiple in where you have potentially 1.6 years worth of expenditures sitting readily available, where if your revenue source changed, you have that to tap into to keep going. My comfort level and where I like to see that is between a half a year's of expenditures and 2 years worth. If you're getting close to a half year or under that, it's kind of saying things are going to be really tight. You don't have much room for error. If something happens, you're running real close to break even, to having some trouble. If you get much over 2 times that threshold, it just kind of shows the money's not going back into the township. Residents are paying taxes and they're not seeing necessarily equal services for that. So that's where we've kind of found most of our clients fall within that range, that it feels like those taxes are going to good use within the township. Again, you guys are at 1.6, so you're very healthily right within that range of where I would say you need to be. One other area I wanted to highlight is the budget to actual, which is going to be jumping back to about page 42, nope, 41. This provides a little bit more detail of your general fund. Really, it's breaking down your expenditures by department a little bit more than that first page showed. In here, we have one item that I want to point out that will be an issue for this year, but it should be corrected going forward for you. We have your one account for public works. It's 303. The actual expenditures were $303,000. Your budget was $272,000, so it went over budget by $31,000. When we went back through and looked at the activity, we found that there were actually 13 months of payments that occurred during the fiscal year. Again, that's just kind of a timing thing that came through between when the first month's payment came in and then we approved back what should have been in there as of 3/31. So just created that 13 payments that pushed it over budget. Going forward, that should follow, based on regular accounting procedures, that should be 12 monthly payments per year. And I believe one other item that got pointed out was that there were a lot more of the, is it rollaway cards? Or
double cards.
Double cards.
Which added to
And so what that will do is it'll increase both the expenditure in here and the revenue recognized that comes in. When the residents pay for that card, it doesn't eliminate the expenditure, just increase expenditure, increase revenue. So both those numbers are higher than anticipated. The reason that'll be an issue is that the state of Michigan, when we submit our audit, they ask several questions, one of which is, did you go over budget? If so, is that line item that's over budget more than 10% of total expenditures? And if so, is it more than 10% over budget? Unfortunately, this line item will be this year, so the state's going to ask for a corrective action plan regarding that. It's something that we can write for you. You'll get a letter. We'll probably submit this tomorrow, assuming you guys approve it. They'll send it automated. If you send it to us, we can write that letter that essentially says this was a one-time timing error. Next year, there will be closer attention to the budget and it won't happen again. And that should be the extent of that. There are several footnotes in here that talk in more detail. I don't want to bore everybody with going through those, but just so you guys have them. One item that we added, or one last item we added that wasn't in here previously, is we, on your full accrual government-wide financial statements, again, that's like the business type reporting, we have an item called investment in joint ventures. What we determined is, it's a GASB standard, essentially. It says if you have a financial investment in another entity, we need to report your estimated equity within that entity. So since you have a financial connection to the fire authority, we added the fire authority as that joint venture. So what we did from the understanding we got is took their last audited financial statement to determine their net fund balance that they had available and apply 25% of that as your equity within that investment. It's a estimate that will be in there. It really doesn't have any major impact on the operations of the township, but a new item that you'll see within the financial statements. There's some other graphs that we provided as well that we like to show just to highlight various areas of where your sources of revenues are coming from. Primarily, it's your state shared revenue, your taxes. Property taxes are roughly 75% of the total revenue coming in. Breakdown of your expenditures, which shows that the refuse collection is the biggest part that you do, and then a lot of the others just your general operations. So those don't have anything significant in there. The one I'd like to follow the most is this kind of blue page with your fund balance, just showing how the fund balance has operated year over year. Basically what it shows is you've had a continual increase in fund balance over the last, from 2018 to 23. 24 it dipped back down a little bit. A large part of that was that timing of the debt service payment that went out versus the receipt not coming in and being recognized as revenue. So really that should be a lot closer to flush from what 23 was. And then 25 dipped down a little bit as services increased a little and some capital outlay that was done. I think that's all I really have for the presentation itself. I'm happy to take any questions you guys might have. I know you didn't have a lot of time with the financial statement, so if you do come across any coming forward, you're welcome to call, talk to you, send emails, or we'll make sure we get answers back to you. And I do want to thank the staff. The audit was quite incredibly easy for coming in as a first-time audit. You know, you're normally prepared for a lot of chaos and a lot of confusion, and it was really straightforward. And I commend the staff for doing a good job of keeping the accounting records in very clean shape.
Will you be able to send us this in electronic format? Super, thank you, sir. Basically, we have enough money to pay our bills for a year and a half should the state cut us off in disaster strike.
Yep.
Perfect.
And then typically what we would have is the board would accept the audit as presented, which would then give us the comfort that you're good with the audit so we can present it to the state. It's due to the state by September 30th. Again, I know you guys just got these, so if you want to take a look at them for a little bit, or if you want to approve the submission to the state, that up to you.
And that's acceptable then if we approve it at our next meeting, or is that,
So, well,
it needs to be?
you could authorize us to submit it to the state prior to the deadline if you'd like, and then approve, formally accept it at the next meeting. Or you could ask us to wait until the next meeting, but then you would run the risk of it being late with the state and anything that they may have issues with that. Typically, you wouldn't run into much if that happened. I believe the true penalty is that they could withhold your state share of revenue payment until it is submitted. I don't think that would happen in that case.
They're looking for a reason to cut that already. So, I don't know that I would trust them.
I know that Amanda and I have
Yeah,
reviewed this.
you
very
probably
clearly.
I mean, I will make a motion to approve the audit unless,
I'll second it.
okay.
Moved and supported, and I guess any further discussion? I will default to your expertise on having reviewed it.
And the auditor's presentation.
And no.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this is more about the auditor's presentation.
No, I don't have any concerns, it's just that we haven't scrutinized this.
Right.
But not that I expect any changes. Enough said. Moved and supported, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. The board has approved it.
Thank you.
Is that one of these forms? Can I
Just
get
stayed
this?
off our back.
Those are just other forms.
Okay.
We have some extra copies in case you want it for anybody.
Okay, thank you so much. You're welcome to leave if you like, or you can stay.
Thank you.
I'm sure you've got other things to do.
But yeah, don't feel required.
Thank you, Charlie.
All right, on to Julie. Clerk's
Sorry.
report.
Yes.
Have you done writing?
So we had 32 hours of dedicated service, Friday, August 1st from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., 2 subdivision patrols, 2 building checks, 1 traffic stop, 1 domestic assault, 1 welfare check, 1 field contact, and 1 citation. On Tuesday, August 5th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., 8 subdivision patrols, 1 building check, 2 traffic details, and 2 traffic stops. On Monday, August 11th from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., 1 breaking and entering, 1 building check, 1 traffic detail, and 1 report. And on Wednesday, August 27th from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., 3 building checks, 9 subdivision patrols, 4 patrol area checks, and 2 ATV complaints. Okay. As far as election, we did the preliminary test yesterday, all went well, and we mailed out ballots today to our Stockbridge permanent ballot list. school in the Stockbridge area. So ballots are out already for our Stockbridge schools residents. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Amanda, treasurer report.
If you look at the report where it says CD Chase, it matured in September. I provide the board with reconciled balances. So that CD matured and it is then by October, I'll have it in the Chase checking account. But I needed to show it here for you because it's a reconciled balance. So by the time I reconciled, it wasn't in there yet. Other than that, nothing too exciting. Thank you.
All right, and with that, we'll pay the bills.
So I will make a motion that we pay $111,553.98. You'll see there's a typo on the audit sheet. So it is, again, $111,553.98. You'll see that that is a very high amount for us, but if you look at the transactions, we had 3 chloride applications, Swan fuels, that's our pre-buy of the fuel for this winter, the water treatment for the township hall, the fence, the first half of the fence that you can see is beautifully done. And then we paid the drains, the Livingston County drain commissioner for the drains at large that we're responsible for, our website, and the other major one was the Fowlerville Rec bill, the $22,000 for the full year of the rec. It was the major, and then the lawyers.
Second.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion? If not, call the roll.
Daily, aye. Miller.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
Bonneville.
Aye.
Motion carries. Committee report. Jason's not here.
No.
Nothing.
No.
Amanda, fire board.
There was 1 building fire since our last meeting, 6 medical calls, 1 motor vehicle accident with injuries, and 1 downed power line. We did not have a meeting in August. I do have one next week with the fire authority. Handy Township was served for the lawsuit, the authority suing them for assessing us so many REUs. So I'll keep you posted on how that goes.
Who's litigating that?
It is a firm from the west side of the state.
Their experience with.
Yeah, it's a very large firm. Our lawyer, the fire authority's regular lawyer, he only has 2 other partners. He said they would just be crushed by what Holmier's firm is, who represents Handy, would just crush them with paperwork. So we hired a firm, much larger firm from the west side of the state. So, thank you.
Thank you. Matt, planning commission.
Planning Commission held the public hearing regarding signs, and there will be 2 separate tables strictly for clarification purposes. Nothing is to change. Mark Eidelson will be at the October meeting to discuss the master plan draft. And other than that, that is all.
Dan.
I have issued 36 permits for the year. Of those 36, 6 of them are for new dwellings. In addition to the 6, I've issued 13 waivers. And that's all I have tonight.
On to unfinished business.
Yes. So, there were, as we talked about last month, there were many iterations of figuring out the 4029, the L4029 because of the change in the millage rate for the roads. So it was my error that I had written the resolution before we got the final numbers squared away. So the L4029, which you see is attached, was always correct. I just hadn't updated the resolution. So this resolution, as you can see now, reflects exactly what the 4029 has said since July 23rd. So the millage rate, nothing changed for the allocated, it's the road millage, which will be 1.3595 is the amended amount. And I will make a motion that we accept the amended resolution 2025-6.
Second.
Moved and supported, any discussion? If not, call the roll. What do you think?
Yes, yep, the resolution Bailey, aye. Bonneville?
Aye.
Harmon? Aye. Parker?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Motion carries. Public hearing, as everyone's probably been seeing on social media or hearing through the grapevines, there was an error made in how the public hearing was noticed to the individual who requested it. So we had to postpone it. New notifications have been sent out, so it's not going to occur now until our October meeting. So that's October 16th, 7 o'clock. We'll have the same. Did I say 7? Did I say 6?
Okay.
Okay. 6 or 7? No. Yeah. It's 7 o'clock. And we will have our public hearing that'll cover the charter ordinances and both applications from DTE for the rezoning, conditional rezoning request. I guess that's about it on that.
Do we want to see that in motion?
Oh, yeah, that's true, I guess. Well, I don't know if we do or not, honestly.
I don't think it has to be.
I don't think we need a motion. I guess if we want to do one just to cover our butt. What's it hurt? Want to get your name in the minutes again?
I do. All right, I will make a motion that we have the public hearing on October 16th at 7 o'clock with our regular meeting to follow directly after on the trigger ordinance and rezoning applications.
Well, technically, it'll be part of the minute. It'll be part of the meeting. It won't, our meeting, regular meeting won't follow it. It's going to be in the agenda.
The public hearing is part of it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's how we used to, don't think.
They changed how
It
they do
is,
it.
yes. Sorry.
Okay, I take it back, amend my motion to, yes, just take out the regular meeting to follow part, please.
Second.
Moved and supported to approve the moving of the public hearing to special meeting, not a special meeting, just to our regular board meeting on October 16th. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Carries. New business. Who would like to- I guess it's Matt's fault to start with, and then my fault.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, no, okay, all right. I thought it might be a good idea if we moved the November meeting to the 13th, simply because you, Mr. Miller, and Mr. Parker are going to be gone.
Probably gone then too.
That's fine. I decided you weren't that important.
Good.
If we could get one out of the two of you, then it would be. Now, this, I have not checked with trustee Harmon if she can make the 13th, so. Okay, so 4 out of 5 still, and then we're a week further back from Thanksgiving, so.
Was there support?
I make a motion that we move the November meeting to November 13th, regular time. There we go.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Now, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. On to board member comments. Aaron?
I don't know.
Matt? Amanda?
Good, thank you.
Julie? Joe? No? Call to the public. Wow.
Wow.
Saving it for October.
Well, that's reasonable.
I will make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
No hesitation?
Second.
All in favor?